Everything you desire already exists in vibrational form awaiting your arrival. The harder you fight to achieve something, the more you reveal your distance from what you seek. The obsessive work, the nights planning the next step, the relentless strategy, symptoms of disconnection. There exists a field called the Vortex, where every desire remains deposited, waiting. You enter it every night while you sleep. Every morning you choose to leave, reconnecting to the thoughts that keep you outside. Authentic manifestation operates by subtraction, removing what prevents well-being from reaching you. You don't need to conquer anything. You need to stop moving away from what is already yours.
There is a place where every desire of yours has already become reality. A concrete vibrational field where every thought of hope, every dream nurtured in silence, every request whispered in sleepless dawns has already assumed complete form. Ancient teachings called this place by different names. Some traditions speak of Akashic records, others mention the field of all possibilities. We will call it by the most precise name, the Vortex. Think of an immense reservoir. Every time you identified something you desired, consciously or not, a vibrational version of that desire was deposited in this reservoir. Every time life pushed you against something undesirable and you instinctively knew what you would prefer instead, the Vortex registered that preference. Every contrast experienced, every frustration felt, every moment of clarity about what you really want generated a deposit in this field. The Vortex functions like an invisible bank account where you deposited fortunes throughout your entire existence. Most people don't know how to withdraw. When someone observes their life and questions why changes don't happen, why desires remain on paper, why dreams seem eternally distant, the answer is not in the absence of what they seek. The answer is in frequency. Physical eyes have known limitations. We don't see ultraviolet rays. We don't perceive radio waves passing through our bodies at this very moment. A dog hears sounds that for us simply don't exist, though they do exist. The Vortex operates at frequencies that common perception doesn't capture. The fact that you don't see the Wi-Fi signal crossing this room doesn't prevent it from carrying information. The fact that you don't perceive the Vortex vibrating around you doesn't prevent it from containing everything you've asked for. The question was never about creating more. The question was always about tuning in. Observe the brutal difference between two ways of living. Outside the Vortex, each day demands monumental effort just to remain functional. Every word needs to be justified. Every action demands willpower. Every interaction consumes energy you can barely replenish. Morning begins and the weight is already there. You wake up thinking about yesterday's problems. The body gets up, but something inside remains lying down. Coffee doesn't awaken. It just pushes the organism forward for a few more hours. At work, every task seems like a mountain. Simple conversations drain. Traffic irritates beyond reason. At home, family receives the leftovers of someone who spent everything trying to survive the day. Endless discussions about who said what. Exhaustive explanations trying to make others understand your perspective. Hours lost ruminating on situations that cannot be changed. The mind spins in circles, always returning to the same dead ends. Inside the Vortex, the same life flows without friction. The difference lies in the amount of energy available to navigate any situation. When someone chooses to tune into this vibrational frequency as maximum priority, before solving problems, before confronting people, before making important decisions, they recover reserves of vitality they used to waste in unnecessary battles. This disturbed me when I first understood it. How many discussions did I engage in that didn't need to happen? How many explanations did I offer to people who didn't really want to understand? How many problems did I try to solve from a state of depletion that only generated more problems? Consider a mother trying to understand her teenage son's behavior. Outside the vortex, she goes through infinite mental contortions, analyzes every word said, relives every conflict, consults specialists, reads articles, talks to other equally confused mothers. Exhaustion increases, clarity decreases. The distance between them grows. The same mother, operating from inside the vortex, would do something radically different. First, she would mentally step away from what disturbs her. She would find a thought, any thought, that reconnects her to her natural frequency of well-being. Perhaps a memory of her son as a child. Perhaps gratitude for something completely unrelated. Perhaps just conscious breathing for a few minutes. From within that elevated perspective, clarity would arise. She finally stopped blocking access to the wisdom that was always available. The vortex contains your material desires. It also contains the answers to every question, the solution to every problem, the next step for every dilemma. Everything already exists there. What prevents you from accessing what is already yours? We spent decades learning to add more effort, more strategies, more action, more control. The vortex operates by inverse logic, removing what obstructs the natural flow. You've been swimming against the current your whole life. The current always flowed in your favor. You just didn't notice because you were too busy fighting against it. The moment you stop fighting, it carries you. One word carries the weight of centuries of distortion: selfishness. Pronounce it out loud and observe the reaction in your own body: contraction, discomfort, perhaps even shame by association. Entire generations were trained to react this way, a conditioned reflex so deep that questioning its foundation seems like moral transgression. But what happens when you examine this word with clean eyes? Authentic selfishness means one thing only: vibrational alignment with who you really are. That part of you that existed before the physical body and will continue to exist after. That consciousness that remains connected to the source of all creation, even when you completely forget it exists. To understand this definition, you first need to recognize your own nature. You are source expressed in physical form, pure positive energy manifested in flesh and bone, dignity that doesn't need to be earned because you were already born with it, mental clarity as the original state, not as an achievement after years of therapy, vibrant health as the organism's default setting, abundant vitality, genuine enthusiasm for the experience of being alive. Doesn't this describe your current state? Then something is blocking the flow between who you are in essence and who you are being now. Healthy selfishness consists of removing these blocks, caring deeply about your own feelings, treating your own emotional well-being as a sacred priority, choosing thoughts that bring you closer to your natural frequency instead of thoughts that create separation. When you take care of yourself this way, you imitate the vibration of your higher self. Culture completely inverted this understanding. It taught that thinking about yourself represents a character flaw, that evolved people put others first, that personal sacrifice demonstrates true love, that your needs should wait until everyone around you is satisfied. Observe where this programming has led humanity. Exhausted people trying to take care of other exhausted people, empty reservoirs trying to fill empty reservoirs, an infinite chain of giving without source, each link pulling from the next, something no one has to give. The twisted logic works like this. When you prioritize your well-being, someone accuses you of selfishness. The phrase usually sounds like, "You only think about pleasing yourself," or "You never consider others," or "The world doesn't revolve around you." Examine this accusation carefully. What is the person really communicating when they say this? The true message, translated from social code into direct language: you should please me instead of pleasing yourself. Who is being selfish in this equation? The person who takes care of their own alignment. or the person who demands that another abandon their needs to serve theirs. The distortion reveals itself when you illuminate it. Those who accuse of selfishness often practice the purest version of it, the version that drains others to fill their own void, the version that disguises demand as concern, the version that transforms care into a chain of guilt. There is an abyssal difference between the two forms. Distorted selfishness tries to extract from others what can only come from within. It manipulates, pressures, demands. It operates from scarcity, the belief that there is a limited amount of well-being available, and you need to secure your share before it runs out. Sacred selfishness recognizes that well-being flows from an inexhaustible source. It doesn't need to take from anyone because the internal faucet provides infinite supply. The aligned person naturally overflows, not out of obligation or sacrifice, but because full containers spill over. No one offers water from an empty cup. This simple truth escapes most people. They try to give love without first connecting to the source of love. They try to offer peace while inhabiting internal war. They try to heal others' wounds while carrying their own untreated. The predictable result: resentment, exhaustion, the bitter feeling that you give so much and receive so little. The question repeated in silence: why doesn't anyone take care of me the way I take care of everyone? The answer hurts. No one takes care of you that way because you taught the world you don't need care. You repeatedly demonstrated that your needs can wait. You trained the people around you to expect your unconditional availability, and now you harvest exactly what you planted. The reversal begins when you decide that your well-being matters. When you stop asking permission to take care of yourself. When the inner voice that demands constant sacrifice loses authority over your choices. Your feelings function as a navigation system. Each emotion indicates proximity to or distance from your natural state. Ignoring this system in the name of pleasing others is like driving with your eyes closed because the passenger asked. The car belongs to you. The steering belongs to you. The destination belongs to you. Whoever occupies the passenger seat may have preferences, may express opinions, may even complain about the chosen path. The steering wheel remains in your hands. Taking care of yourself doesn't mean abandoning everyone. It means ensuring you have something real to offer when you choose to do so. Authentic generosity is born from internal abundance, never from external obligation. The world needs full people. You serve everyone better when you serve yourself first. Every time you modify your behavior to control another person's reaction, you pay an invisible price. The transaction seems advantageous in the moment. You yield, the other calms down, the conflict evaporates, peace returns, at least on the surface. Quick victory, clean, apparently without cost. The cost exists. You just don't receive the bill immediately. When someone expresses dissatisfaction and you abandon your position to appease that dissatisfaction, you teach a powerful lesson. The person learns that through demands, pressure, emotional discomfort, or simple persistence, they can mold your behavior. You become trainable, predictable, manipulable. The lesson reinforces itself with each repetition. First time you yield, the person unconsciously registers. This works. Second time, the pattern confirms itself. Third time, it becomes expectation. After a few dozen repetitions, the dynamic crystallizes into something both treat as normal, though neither consciously chose this normalcy. You do an immense disservice to those you love when you operate this way. The person who learns to control you through emotional demands carries this expectation into other relationships, and they will hardly find anyone as cooperative as you showed yourself to be. The world is full of people who maintain their boundaries, who don't bend under pressure, who say no without guilt. The shock will be brutal. That son who grew up watching his mother abandon everything to meet his whims arrives at the job market expecting the same deference. The boss doesn't cooperate, colleagues don't cooperate, the entire universe seems to conspire against him, when in fact the universe just works differently from the artificially protected environment you created. You prepared those you love to fail. The intention was good. You wanted to protect, facilitate, demonstrate love through total availability. The result was the opposite. You created dependency where you could have cultivated autonomy. You created fragility where you could have strengthened. The dynamic repeats in friendships, marriages, professional relationships. The excessively helpful person often becomes the only real friendship available. Everyone else has distanced themselves because healthy people recognize imbalance and protect themselves from it. Only the one who doesn't know how to say no remains, occupying the role that perhaps only a self-sacrificing mother would accept. And even self-sacrificing mothers eventually exhaust themselves. The emotional reservoir has finite capacity. You can ignore the signs of depletion for years, decades even. You can confuse exhaustion with purpose. You can interpret the void as proof of your own value. After all, you gave so much that nothing was left. The body eventually collects the bill. Diseases that seem to arise from nowhere. Exhaustion that no rest resolves. Bitterness that leaks around the edges, even when you try to contain it. The growing feeling that life passed while you took care of everyone else's lives. No one leads while standing behind those they intend to guide. This phrase deserves repetition. Engrave it. You don't help anyone by positioning yourself below. You don't elevate anyone by lowering yourself. The idea that personal sacrifice demonstrates superior love constitutes one of the most destructive lies ever told. Genuine love overflows. Sacrifice empties. Observe the energetic difference. When you give from a state of fullness, giving costs nothing. It flows naturally like water descending a mountain. You don't even perceive it as generosity. It just seems like the obvious thing to do when you have so much left over. When you give from a state of scarcity, every gesture requires conscious effort. You need to convince yourself. You need to ignore the inner voice asking for pause. You need to push through the resistance of your own organism, begging for care. This giving carries a specific energetic signature. The receiver feels it, even if they can't name it. Something in the gift given doesn't fully nourish. Something in the favor done leaves a strange residue. Gratitude mixes with vague discomfort, an intuition that gesture cost more than it should have. Gifts given from the void create debt. Gifts given from abundance create joy. The Vortex teaches that you need to enter first. Fill yourself first. Connect to Source first. Only then do you possess something real to offer. The order matters absolutely. Those who try to help others before helping themselves distribute scarcity disguised as generosity. Those who first align and then act distribute genuine abundance that multiplies upon contact. The person you become inside the vortex serves everyone better than the exhausted person you are outside it. Your children need you full. Your partner needs you present. Your friends need you available, truly available, not pretending availability while counting the minutes until you can finally rest. You don't disappoint anyone by taking care of yourself. You disappoint everyone by destroying yourself trying to carry them. Collapse is inevitable when foundations give way, and you are the foundation of everything you've built. Take care first of the structure that sustains the rest. The rest will remain standing. Humanity has mastered one skill with absolute perfection: identifying what it doesn't want. Observe any person for an entire day. Count how many times they express dissatisfaction. Traffic is horrible. The boss is unbearable. The weather isn't cooperating. The government steals too much. The neighbors make noise. Food makes you fat. Money runs out. The body hurts. The partner doesn't understand. An infinite cataloging of everything that's wrong. The teachings on manifestation call this process Step 1. examining experience data and identifying preferences through contrast. Every time you encounter something undesirable, you automatically know what you would desire instead. Horrible traffic generates desire for flow. Unbearable boss generates desire for autonomy. Aching body generates desire for vitality. The mechanism works with surgical precision. Every dissatisfaction produces instant clarity about the preferred alternative. And here lies the paradox that imprisons millions. Step 1 represents only the beginning of the process, the part that identifies, the part that classifies, the part that registers preferences in the great vibrational reservoir we call the vortex. While you complain about traffic, a vibrational version of flow is deposited in your vortex. While you suffer with your boss, a vibrational version of autonomy accumulates. While your body hurts, radiant health awaits your arrival in the field of all possibilities. Source receives every request, without judgment, without delay, without exception. More than receiving, Source becomes what you asked for. It vibrates at the exact frequency of your desire. It emits the corresponding signal 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without interruption, ever. The law of attraction works tirelessly behind the scenes. It gathers components. It organizes coincidences. It aligns circumstances. It prepares encounters. Everything you asked for slowly assembles like a cosmic puzzle, awaiting only one final piece. Your vibrational presence in the same field where your desires already exist. Most people never get there. They remain eternally in step 1. Identify, classify, complain, identify again, classify again, complain some more. A cycle that spins on itself without ever advancing. Accidental creators, default manifestors. Default creation happens when you float according to circumstances. Someone complains, you agree. Bad news appears, you sink along with it. The environment's mood dictates your mood. Others' energy contaminates your energy. You react to the world instead of emanating into it. In this mode, you create because creating constitutes your inescapable nature. Every sustained thought generates corresponding attraction. The question was never whether you are creating. The question was always what. Those who live in default mode accidentally create exactly what they fear most. They constantly think about what they don't want. And the law of attraction delivers the vibrational equivalent of these thoughts. They complain about scarcity and attract more scarcity. They fear disease and invite conditions to manifest it. They expect disappointment and find disappointment at every corner. Deliberate creation begins with a decision, taking control of your own relationship with who you really are, paying constant attention to the distance between your current position on any subject and the knowledge your essence possesses about the same topic. When you think about money and feel contraction, there is distance. When you think about health and feel fear, there is distance. When you think about relationships and feel weight, there is distance. This distance is measured in frequency. Your essence, that part eternally connected to Source, vibrates at high frequency on all subjects. It knows your abundance, it knows your vitality, it knows your value. When your conscious thoughts clash with this frequency, you feel emotional discomfort. Discomfort functions as an alarm, calibrated with absolute precision. The person who decides to create deliberately uses this alarm as a guide. They notice the contraction. They recognize what it means. They choose a thought that decreases the distance, however small the adjustment. Then another, then another. No one leaps from despair to joy in one movement. The emotional scale has steps. The work consists of climbing one step at a time, consistently, without demanding immediate arrival at the top. From fear to anger, progress. From anger to frustration, progress. From frustration to hope, progress. From hope to belief, progress. From belief to knowing, arrival. Each step climbed brings you closer to the vortex where everything you asked for awaits. Source never stopped calling. The law of attraction never stopped gathering. The only obstacle was always you, too busy identifying problems to notice that the solutions already existed. You were born with a measuring device installed at the center of your being. No one needed to explain how it works. No one handed over an instruction manual. The equipment came factory calibrated, operating since the first breath, recording data 24 hours a day without ever failing or needing maintenance. Your emotions, every feeling that passes through you during every moment of every day, fulfills a unique function, informing your position in relation to the vortex. Proximity or distance, alignment or separation, attunement or interference. The system operates with brutal simplicity. When you approach the frequency where all your desires already exist, you feel well-being, lightness in the chest, clarity in the mind, energy available, desire to be alive. The degrees vary, from soft contentment to absolute ecstasy, but the direction remains constant. Well-being means approach. When you move away, you feel unease, unexplainable weight, mental confusion, fatigue that sleep doesn't resolve, irritation disproportionate to triggers. The degrees also vary here, from light discomfort to paralyzing despair, but the message remains identical. Unease means distance. The vortex constitutes a vibrational state that precedes all physical manifestation. Before money arrives in your account, it exists as frequency in the vortex. Before the relationship materializes, it vibrates complete, awaiting your encounter. Before health restores itself, it pulses available for those who know how to reach it. Everything you desire exists first as vibrational reality, and only then assumes form that eyes can see. The vortex functions as concentrated and encapsulated source. Imagine all the creative energy of the universe compressed into an accessible point. Imagine all love ever felt by any being converging in a single reservoir. Imagine every solution to every problem ever thought available for instant consultation. The vortex contains this and infinitely more. Every experience you've lived has enriched this reservoir. Every time life pushed you against something undesirable and you knew what you would prefer, deposit made. Every tear shed generated clarity about what would make you smile, deposit made. Every frustration crystallized in vibrational form what would bring satisfaction, deposit made. The vortex grows with every contrast experienced. You spent your whole life contributing to this cosmic fund without knowing you could withdraw from it at any moment. Eyes don't see the vortex, ears may not capture it directly, but you feel it. That inexplicable moment when everything seems right, when conversation flows without effort, when ideas arise ready, when coincidences accumulate too fast to be coincidences, when you forget to check the clock because time lost relevance, when the body moves and the mind rests simultaneously. You were in the vortex. Perhaps you didn't know how to name it. Perhaps you attributed it to luck, chance, a good day. The experience remains identical regardless of label. Vibrational alignment has an unmistakable flavor for those who have tasted it. The emotional map reveals your position with exactness. Anger indicates considerable distance. You've moved away from the vortex and the system registers this through heat in the chest, tension in muscles, accelerated thoughts seeking blame. The message doesn't condemn anger, it only informs where you are. Frustration indicates less distance. You've left anger, climbed a step, but haven't arrived yet. The system updates the record. It keeps informing. Hope marks borderline territory, the edge of the vortex, the perimeter where attraction begins to pull with perceptible force. When you feel genuine hope about any subject, Not hope fake to seem positive, but that real glimpse of possibility. You're close enough to be absorbed. The entry door is located somewhere between hope and belief. Hope says, maybe it's possible. Belief says, I know it will come. Between these two states exists an invisible passage. Those who cross it stop seeking and start receiving. Stop chasing and start allowing. Stop doubting and start knowing. The work consists of moving emotionally to this zone. No one does this for you. No technique substitutes for real internal movement. You can recite affirmations all day. If feeling doesn't accompany them, frequency doesn't change. You can visualize results in vivid detail. If doubt persists underneath, vibration remains low. The emotional system doesn't accept forgery. It registers only what you genuinely feel. It completely ignores what you pretend to feel. That's why so many people practice positive thinking for years without results. They repeat the right words while feeling incompatible emotions. Emotional authenticity constitutes the only valid passport to the vortex. Feeling for real, allowing for real, trusting for real. When these three conditions align, no resistance can keep you outside. Natural attraction does its work. The vortex welcomes those who finally stopped resisting their own well-being. Your emotions always knew the way. You just forgot to consult them. The vortex pulls you toward itself constantly. A silent gravitational force operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, from the moment of your birth until your last breath. You don't need to push yourself in. You don't need to force entry. You don't need to accumulate enough merit to receive permission. The invitation remains open. It always has been. The question that changes everything: if the vortex naturally attracts, why do so many people live outside it? Because resistance overcomes attraction when exercised with sufficient force. Imagine a river running toward the sea. The water wants to get there. That constitutes its nature. Now imagine someone swimming furiously against the current, spending all available energy to stay in place or even retreat a few meters. The river didn't stop flowing. The person chose to fight against the flow. Resistance assumes forms you've learned to consider normal. Chronic worry about the future, ruminating on past events that cannot be changed, constant comparison with others, judging yourself for not being further along, fear that good things will end, certainty that something bad hides around the next corner, distrust of your own ability to maintain happiness. Each of these patterns functions as an oar pushing against the current. The real work doesn't consist of adding spiritual practices to your routine. It consists of identifying what you're already doing that prevents your natural well-being from reaching you. You enter the vortex every night. During sleep, the conscious mind rests. Resistant thoughts lose strength. Connection with Source re-establishes automatically. That's why waking should feel like rebirth, and often does, in those first seconds before habitual thoughts return. Observe what happens next. You open your eyes. For an instant, only presence exists. Then the mind awakens and begins its work. It remembers yesterday's problems. It anticipates today's challenges. It connects to the news, social media, collective worries. Within minutes, you return exactly to the vibrational point where you were before sleeping. Those who slept irritated wake up irritated. Those who slept anxious wake up anxious. The vortex welcomed you during the night. You chose to leave it in the morning. Source constantly calls every consciousness back to the vibrational home, back to everything that has already been created, back to everything you've asked for throughout your entire existence. The call never ceases. The line remains open. Reception depends only on who answers. Without resistant attachment to limiting thoughts, the vortex absorbs you without any effort. Entry will happen inevitably, for everyone, without exception. At the moment of death, every consciousness instantly enters everything it has become. All resistances dissolve along with the physical body. all fears lose substance, all doubts evaporate. What remains is pure essence finally reunited with its vibrational creations. But why wait? Why spend decades swimming against the current when you can simply release the oars and let the water carry you? Why postpone until after death what is available now, in this moment, in this breath? No one needs to die to inhabit the vortex. Physical life offers complete access to the same state. The space-time that stimulated every desire of yours has full capacity to deliver it while you still breathe. The only reason for any interval between desiring and receiving lies in the amount of resistance compared to the amount of expectation. High resistance, long interval. Low resistance, short interval. Zero resistance, instant manifestation. Softening resistance allows the vortex to fulfill its natural function. The process doesn't require superhuman effort. It requires attention, noticing when a thought contracts your chest, gently choosing another thought that relieves the contraction. Repeating this simple movement dozens of times a day until it becomes automatic. You spent years strengthening patterns of resistance. They won't disappear in an afternoon. But every time you choose the thought that relieves, instead of the thought that tightens, the balance shifts slightly in your favor. Small accumulated shifts produce unrecognizable transformation. The person you will be a year from now practicing this constant adjustment will not resemble the person you are today. The same external problems will exist, but you will meet them from inside the vortex with infinitely greater resources, with clarity that today seems impossible. There are tools that accelerate this process. Binaural beats in theta, frequency-induced states of consciousness where resistance automatically loses strength. The brain synchronizes with the sound pattern and internally reproduces the same frequency, that range between 4 and 8 Hertz, where the analytical mind rests and connection with the vortex establishes itself without interference. Audio technologies calibrated to create the internal conditions where the vortex naturally absorbs those who practice. No additional effort, no complex techniques to memorize, just frequencies doing the work that resistant thoughts prevent. To discover how to access these tools and start practicing today, click the link on the screen or in the comments. If this video resonated with you, write in the comments, "It made sense to me."